Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Today's video is going to be more of a chit chat video. It's still going to be about budgeting, but in today's video, I am going to be sharing 5 ways to teach children about budgeting. Now, as you can see, I do have my notebook with me and I jotted down a few things to make sure that I'm really driving home the key points for today's conversation. But first things first, if you're new here, hey, welcome. My name is Coach D, and I love all things planning. It keeps me organized as a busy wife, mom, career woman, leader, entrepreneur, and so much more. Here on my channel, I share pieces of my life with the hope of helping you to balance, grow, and succeed in yours. If you're new, make sure that you go ahead and hit subscribe. I would love to welcome you to my YouTube family. All right, so planner enthusiasts and planners alike, let's dive into the conversation. So tip number 1, keep it simple. When you are teaching your children about the importance of budgeting, make sure that you are keeping it simple. My children are younger. I have 3 smaller children. My oldest is my bonus son, who's 19 years old. So he is working and figuring things out, applying some of the things that we've taught him. Maybe not applying everything that we've taught him, but hey, that's to be expected. He's finding his way and he's learning. But at least when he was younger, we took the time to really instill some things in him about the importance of budgeting. And I can see evidence of that, which really makes me happy as a parent. So back to the tip, keep it simple. If your children are younger, make sure that they understand just the basic premise of money. I always like to say money is simply a means of exchange. And I help my kids to understand what that means. When we go to the grocery store, if there's a product or a service that they would like, we have to exchange something of value to get something of value to us, whether it's something we want to consume or something that we'll be able to enjoy. So keep it simple and make sure they understand the basic premise of money. Number 2, allow your children to pay for things that they want. I believe that this really helps them to understand the life cycle of money, even if you're giving them an allowance or perhaps they're receiving money from their birthday cards or a celebration, graduation, or something of that nature. If there's something that they want to purchase, allow them to buy it themselves. That way they can experience again the life cycle of money and what it means to exchange something of value for something that you would like in return. It'll also help them to see their money going out of their piggy banks or out of their bank account if they're a little bit older. But it'll help them to understand if I want to purchase, like my youngest daughter, she's 5, she's determined that she wants a Nintendo Switch. She has other devices and things of that nature, so we're trying to figure that out. But if that's something or something similar that she wants to save up for, then helping your children to understand what something costs, and as they are getting the allowance, you can make sure that you're helping them to see what will happen, right, to their money over time to be able to purchase something that they want because they've saved up for it. And then they're understanding the concept of savings and budgeting. And if there's something else that comes up in the meantime that they want to purchase, then you can help them to understand kind of, that payoff, right? So do they really want to continue to save money for X, Y, and Z, or do they want now something else to add to the mix? So making sure that they're paying for it helps them to shape that paradigm of buying things and budgeting. So that brings me to tip number 3, teach practical kid appropriate lessons. And my previous example was just that, a lesson that they can learn about saving up for things, budgeting for things, and spending their own money on things. It's a practical way for them to understand some of the foundational principles of budgeting. Number 4, keep it fun with games. There are a ton of games on the market that teach budgeting. You can do a quick Google search and identify some games. There are also many on Amazon. I believe that they are a lot more diverse now, and they will help your children to understand how money works, savings, investing to some extent, depending on how old your children are. Perhaps they want to start saving money in a high yield savings account or a mutual fund, or, you know, they maybe want to get involved with their college fund if they're a little bit older and perhaps they're working a part-time job. So there are different games on the market that will be tailored to your child's age so that it's a fun way for them to understand budgeting and how money works. The last thing that I personally want to do is make budgeting a daunting task for my children, because I don't want them to grow up to be adults who are bitter about money. I don't think that that would do them any service for them to have a bitter mindset about money. I believe if they are afraid of it, then they could go to either extreme, to where they're, maybe frugal and they're not experiencing life, or they're just afraid to perhaps live or spend money, or they could be on the other extreme where they're just like, throw them, like at a bar or something and just throwing money up in the air as adults or whatnot. But if they have a healthy relationship with money, it can start at a young age so that they can have the right framework. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to get it all right. It doesn't mean that they're going to get it all right. But the goal is to make sure that they understand some principles that they can always come back to, even if they get some things wrong. All right, number 5 is getting them involved in the household finances. My kids know, you guys know, this is my budget planner. Oh, it's upside down and backwards. But anyway, so this is our family budget and goals planner. My kids know you do not touch this planner. You do not mess with this planner. This planner is very important. But they see me doing that. They see me sitting down every month. This is my thing. This is not my husband's thing. He's not a paper type of guy. He prefers more digital methods. But they see us managing our finances and paying the bills. So they have that level of awareness of its importance, because they see us living out the things that we are ultimately trying to teach them. So get them involved in the household affairs when it comes to money to a certain extent, depending upon their age. The other example that I want to share is that we are taking a family trip later on in the year, and we're going to Las Vegas. So it's going to be quite a pretty penny to travel, all of us, pretty much across the country compared to where we live, but neither here nor there. We're saving up for it, and we're making some sacrifices as a family. So perhaps we're saying, okay, guys, we have to cut back on the Chick-fil-A runs. Mommy's not going to go run out for coffee as much. We're going to eat the food that we have. We're not going to, take other maybe smaller trips this summer. We're going to really focus on saving up so that we can experience all there is to experience on this bigger trip. So it helps them to understand making short-term sacrifices for a long-term gain that we'll all be able to enjoy, just because we made some simple short-term sacrifices. So that's one way that we're kind of getting them involved in terms of understanding saving up for things and what it means to have needs versus wants. So we're making sure that we're involving them in the conversation. And the last story I'll share, I have some really fond childhood memories of going with my mom to pay bills. I mean, typically it was just me and her. My brother, I think, maybe stayed home, but there was a certain season where I would go with her, and maybe that's why I really enjoy like my checklist and things like that in my planner. But I remember she had like a back of an envelope, and she would write down the bills, how much they cost. We would get the money out the bank to cover all the bills. This was, I may be aging myself, but this was before online payments and things like that were a big thing. We would drive to the cable store. We would drive to the water downtown to pay the water bill, and she would check things off. She would check it off, and she would have the amount of money on hand, kind of like the cash envelope system, right? That's popular now. And she would check it off, and what was left, we would go to the grocery store and we would get groceries and things like that. So I have those memories as a child that really have journeyed with me through life. And no, I've not gotten it all perfect, but I really believe that both of my parents really instilled some budgeting best practices in myself and my siblings. So I'm really thankful for that. And I hope that you found these tips helpful for you so that you can help your children to understand the importance of budgeting. Make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. Also hit subscribe. I would love to welcome you to my YouTube family. Until next time, I'll say bye for now.